So in this part is part 3, and so far what we have of our static label here of the crosshair. But what we want to have next is to highlight the items and put in a dotted line based on whatever the value is. So to do this, we need to first understand the mouse over effect here with the redrawing effect, because if you don't understand it properly, you will get a lot of weird designs. So what I'm going to do is we're going to scroll down here, and we have our static label that's done. Now we're going to create our hover, I guess we could say here, the hover label or the hover crosshair, whatever you would like to name it. So I'm going to grab that. Then let's see, where can we do this? We'll do it here above, because this is anyway after the data set, so I think that will be fine to do it like this. So we're going to say a constant hover labels, a label, and then I'm going to say the ID will be the hover label. And then in here, for now, basically we need two parts. We need a before, and I think we even need an after draw. But what I will do here first is to understand or track the movements. So what I'm going to say here, I'm going to say after event. Basically what I'm just saying here, after an event, I want to do this. So if someone does something specific in an event, a click or a mouse move, trigger this, do something else. So we're going to say chart and arcs. So in here, what I will need is probably, again, an object destructuring, of course. Let's say here chart, and then what we need here, most likely CTX, the chart area, and then we can say here, top, bottom, left, right, width, height, and then we can say here also the scales, X and Y. So once we've got these, what I need to do next is start figuring out, well, what we need to figure out is the arcs. Let's do here console log and just show you what do we get if we hover. As you can see here, we're now having some additional information. It tells us even the events, it gives us the X and Y coordinates. So this is very useful for us. So what we're going to do is we probably need these two here, the X and Y coordinates. You can see here the mouse movement, but we'll be using something else because we have a tricky part in here. Next, what is also very important is the in chart area. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say if, because what we want to do is we want to only track the mouse movement when it's in the chart area, not here above. If it's here above, I do not mind it, but I don't want to trigger it. But once I'm in the chart area, we should draw the hover lines. So we're going to say here if arcs.in chart area. So if we are in the chart area, in that case we want to do something. And what exactly are we going to do? Well, we have to check. First thing what I want to know is I would like to have what we call the hover values of X and Y. So we're going to say here, and I'm going to put in here X hover value, or maybe X hover coordinate. That's maybe the right term. Let's say X hover coordinate equals, and we're going to grab this item here. You might notice why I'm not doing a constant or let, because I'm going to use hoisting for this, which is basically placing the item here above, let, and then giving it no value at all. And here same hover coordinates for the Y. The reason I'm doing this is later on I need to move this value, whatever we get here, to the other areas. So because of that, I need to use the hoisting so the value can be translated or transferred to any other place where I want. This is a very useful tool, and I don't know any other way to do it without it. So I'm going to grab this here, and we're going to say here this will be arcs dot, how do we get there, event dot X, event dot X. Then I will do this here and say event dot Y, and this will be of course the Y value. If I do now console log here, we should see here now these X and Y coordinates. So let's do only the Y coordinate. Hover over, you can see here. If I'm on there, as you can see here, I'm outside the chart area, it will not trigger. All right, so that looks quite nice. So what I do want to do is else, if I'm outside of it, I need to set this back into a no value situation, or basically a default value, well, or undefined. The reason for this is undefined. The reason for this is I want to, if we're outside of the chart area, I want to remove the lines that we draw. It's very simple. So that's basically what I'm doing here. So now we have this here, and you could even say, if I'm going to grab this hover value here, and oh, it doesn't work here, so I cannot put it in there. And the reason why is I need to make sure, first of all, I have something else. So this is a very important, another part is the arcs. I'm going to say in the arcs, we're going to say arcs dot change. This here, I'm going to set to true. By default, it's not even showing at all. The reason why we do this is because we are then allowed to redraw the chart. We're just basically giving a command to the chart. We're going to draw something. And so now we have this one here. But what I also need to know is when I have this coordinate here, I want to know which one I am the nearest to. And for that, I need to use another functionality. And this is a part that's built in chart.js, but it was so tricky for me. So pay attention. So what I'm going to do here is, probably you can put in here the canvas as well. And the canvas refers to this, well, then basically the canvas of the item. So what I'm going to say here is I'm going to track again because I want to convert whatever I track to the nearest point. Chart.js has a built-in functionality for that. But to use it, this is the only way I could get it. So I'm going to say here, when I'm in the canvas, and then if I have that, I'm going to do an add event listener, and this here will track my mouse move. You might say, doesn't this work as well? Yes, but it will conflict for some reason. So it just doesn't work as it should. So then we're going to say, for the event, I'm going to track this event, and I record that event. And then what I want to do here is the following. I'm going to give this our point value, points basically. And what it will say is, well, probably not on this one, sorry. I want to trigger a function. Let's say here, I'm not sure if it's coordinates or maybe it's the nearest value. Let's say like that. That's probably the right term for it. The nearest value which has the chart object and the event itself. So we say the E for the event because we want to register that event to figure out where's the nearest value. Then I'm going to create a function. Say this nearest value function has of course the chart and the event, but the event I'll give it a nice name as mouse move. So it will track this. And then if I do console log, you will see here this will probably get the same value that we have just as well. As you see here, exactly the same, if I'm not mistaken, probably this one here. Or the offsets, one or the other. If I'm not mistaken, it's this one probably. So you might say, well, we could just maybe grab it from this. That's fine as well. But if you don't need to use this one is easier to do, of course. Anyway, what I want to do here is I want to convert whatever the value is here, or I want to make sure that we grab that value. So what I'm going to do here, constant points, and in here I'm going to say chart, and this is a built-in functionality from chart.js, get the elements at event for mode. In other words, wherever I move with my mouse, get the elements of that. So in here, we're going to say it will be based on the mouse move. Then what I want to say here is I want to grab the nearest value, whatever where the mouse would be. Then what we're going to do here is intersect, and set this on false. We don't need to intersect. Basically, it would mean like a tooltip. If I'm hovering on here, well, it should, I'll just say nearest. If it's near, it will just trigger it automatically, even though we're not exactly on that specific point. And then I'm going to set this all on true to trigger this. So once I did this, let's do a console log again. I'm going to grab here the points, save that, refresh. Alright, we get a lot of information. I need to just remove some of the console logs. Do I have any other console log? The points and the mouse move. Remove this one here, save. So now we have this here. You can see here what is happening. We are on the nearest, and if we are away, it just becomes empty. So that would mean, so we are up. Let's look. Oh, that would take forever. So what I'm going to do is, we can do here the if statement. If points dot length. So if there is any value that we find, please show me the points, else just leave it blank. As you can see here, now if I move here, it doesn't move trigger anymore. It will only trigger the item. So if I'm here somewhere, it should show us July 6th, if I'm not mistaken. You can see here index number 4. Am I correct? Did I move by any way? Or if I go here, it should be index number 6. There we are. So it does show us some information. It gives me basically only one thing that I need to know. What is the index that I'm in? This is the only information I need. So what I can say here, points, this, and then we can say dot index. Let's save that, refresh. Now we're at 6, 5, 4, you can see here, this is the nearest position. Beautiful. 1, or what's going on here? That's interesting. I'll have to check on this one, but let's play around with that. So now I'm going to play around with this. Basically, I'll do the next video. Then we can transfer this information there. Well, the only thing what I would like to do then here is say the hover index. Then we can say here hover index would be hover index will be equal to this, and then we're going to say if we're outside of it, the hover index will be removed. We assign an undefined value. Save this, refresh. Right now, you will not notice anything. Next video, you will understand how this all connects.